Welcome to Adventures in Creation. In today's tutorial, we'll dive into the exciting world of 3D printing using FreeCAD, a powerful and free parametric 3D CAD modeler. Whether you're a beginner or looking to expand your 3D printing skills, this step-by-step guide will walk you through the entire process. We'll start by designing a simple model from scratch, exploring FreeCAD's intuitive interface to bring your ideas to life. Once our design is ready, we'll tackle the crucial step of exporting the model in STL format. Join me as we discuss various export options within FreeCAD, ensuring your 3D prints maintain the highest quality. We'll then transition to the slicer software, where we'll be able to explore its features and settings to optimize our 3D model for printing. But the journey doesn't end there. I'll guide you through the process of uploading your sliced model to your 3D printer, discussing different options and considerations to ensure a seamless printing experience. From layer height to infill patterns, we'll cover it all. Whether you're a hobbyist, student, or a professional, this tutorial is designed to empower you with the skills needed to navigate FreeCAD and successfully bring your 3D creations to life. So let's dive in and unlock the incredible possibilities of 3D printing with the FreeCAD together. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay updated on our latest tutorials. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to do in the part design workbench, I'm going to start a new file, and then I'm going to create a part, and I'm going to create a body. And we'll just go straight in, create a sketch. We'll do it on the XY plane. And we're going to do something very simple here. We're just going to create a rounded rectangle. And we'll use our symmetrical constraint just to constrain that. We're going to give this radius a dimension. And I'm going to actually give that a 5mm dimension. And then we're going to dimension the horizontal. We're going to make that 65, and then we'll dimension the vertical, and we're going to make that 25. Now once we've done that, we're going to close that sketch, and we'll just pad it, and we'll pad it up to 25mm. And then for our final piece, we're just going to hollow that guy out. And I want to make the walls 2.5mm. Just type that in. And we'll say OK. And now we have a box. And that's what we're actually going to print. So we're not going to do anything more complicated than that. Now for my model, I have the option I can select the body, and I can export the body, or I can select the part and I can export the part. In this case, there's only one body, so if I do the part, it's going to be just that body. If I've got several bodies, I'd want to select the body that I want to print. And then I would say File and Export. And here's where you can choose to export it in a different format. So mine's set on 3MF. Show you the options. So we've got the 3D manufacturing format, or we can go all the way down here and do it in an STL format. It just depends what your slicer is going to accept. So I use the Prusa slicer, and it will accept the 3MF. So I'm actually going to use that. And I'm just going to call mine Printing 3D. And I'll save that. And now we need to switch to our Prusa slicer. So let's do that. This is the interface for the Prusa slicer. And I'm going to show you a couple of things. You can use any slicer you want. I like this one. It seems to be pretty stable, pretty easy to use. So I'm going to say import my file. I can import an STL. I can import an SLA, a zip file, 3MF, step, object. So there's a bunch of different files I can import. This particular one is going to be printing 3D. There's my box. And now with the Prusa slicer, there are certain things I can do. For instance, if I want to put it on a different face, I can just select that face. And it'll move my box around, obviously, for this one. I want to print it on this face, which was the default. So that's a good place to have it. And then you can also move the model around. You can scale the model. You can flip the model over. You can paint on supports. And you can measure the model. There's all kinds of things you can do. You can duplicate the model. You can delete the model. So the way the Prusa slicer works, this is the Platter tab. These are my print settings. So the print settings are set up for PLA. And I have a layer height of 0.2 millimeters. My first layer is 0.4 millimeters. I have 2 perimeters. And I use all of these different settings. You can use, basically, if you pull in the default settings, they're pretty good. On the left-hand side here, I can change my infill. So for this one, I'm going to use a 30% infill. My fill pattern is rectilinear. And again, there's lots of different options I can select there. I can choose to have a skirt or a brim. And I can choose when to put supports on. For this simple model, we don't need any supports. I can change the speed of what I'm doing. If I have multiple extruders, I can work with that. There are different output options. And all of these data you can change as you go through the model. Then I have my filament settings here. So this tells me I've got 1.75 millimeter diameter PLA. Here's my cooling information. So turning my fan on. I can add custom G code if I wanted to do something at the beginning or at the end. I can certainly do that. And then here's my printer settings. So it tells it the size of the bed. It tells it my Z offset, how many extruders I have, what kind of G code I'm using, all of those things. Again, you can add custom G code, and you can lay out the machine limits so that you know where the edges of the machine are. So all of that is done within this slicer. And honestly, if you take the defaults that Prusa comes up with, you won't be far off. Now I'm using my printer as a Ender 3 by Creality. It's the version 2 Neo. So I've set up my printer with the extents of that printer. So I make sure that I'm not printing past the bed, because obviously that will cause me problems. So once you're happy with everything that you've got set up, you can simply slice the model. And we slice the model to put it into layers. So I'm slicing it now. And when I slice that model, what it's going to do is it's going to slice it and tell me an estimate of how long it's going to take to print it. So if you look over here, it says it's going to take 1 hour and 29 minutes with the settings that I have to print that model. Now, for my setting, I can use this send to printer from the Prusa slicer. I can send it directly to my printer without ever having to put it on an SD card or put it on my printer's or my computer's hard drive and move it around. I can literally just send it. That's what I always do. But what you can do is you can export it. So this is the actual G code. And you can export that G code to a file. And then you can actually look at that G code if you want to. So if we look here, this is the G code. I have it in Notepad+. Here, if I show you what it does, it says it's generated by Prusa Slicer. And then these are the actual G code commands that are going to create my model. So you can see all of the G code here. For those of you that want to look at the raw data. Now, I don't do that. What I do is from here, I will hit this button and it'll allow me to upload it and print it and set the printer going at once. Now, for me, I use Octoprint to run my printer. I can turn the power on my printer here. So that turns the power on. And then I can simply upload this print and print it. If I go back to my browser, you can see it uploaded that G code, and now it's starting to print. So first thing it's going to do is it will heat up my bed, and I can see that happening here. I can actually look at my printer here, and I can see the G code that's being sent here. If we run through, you can see how it's going to print. And I have a terminal, so I can see what's going on. It's actually heating up, and it's waiting, it's waiting, it's waiting. It's heating up right now. And so I just watch the temperature come up. You can see it coming up here. And I'll usually wait and watch it kick off, make sure that it starts okay. And so once it gets going here, we're reaching here's our actual temperature. Here's our target temperature, so it's getting up to 150. When it reaches 150, it'll kick the bed off to get to 60. And then once it's up to temperature, we'll see it start to move the printer. There you can see the head moving. It's actually doing the bed leveling. When this gets up to temperature, it's going to move the PLA temperature up a little higher. Bed leveling is done. And now you can see the target's 200 because the bed got up to 60. So now it's running the hot end up to 200. And once that reaches 200, the printing will begin. And we're almost there. Comes the head. And it does a swipe, like clean of the head of the nozzle. And once that's complete, then I'll go off and start this printing. And now it's starting to print. And there you can see it's printing the outside shape. We'll take a couple of looks at it close up. And I'll show you it once it's finished. So here's the part actually being printed. And of course it takes a little while to do that. Once it's done, I'll show you the final product. So thanks for watching the video. If you've enjoyed it, please give us a thumbs up, give us a like. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. If you want to join our Patreon, you certainly can. If you go to the link that's on the screen, or if you just want to one-time buy us a coffee, you can do that too. Again, the link is on the screen. Thanks for everything. If you have any suggestions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. And I'll see you in the next video.